يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون أما بعد رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. As a people who choose to live in a society, we can't help but feel pressure from the people that live around us. Our kids, when they're in middle school or high school and they have all these different people around them, it influences them. When their friend gets a new watch, they want that same watch. When their friend gets those new shoes or pants or whatever it may be, they want the same thing. As they get a little bit older, then maybe it's more expensive things, like purses and other items as well. And a lot of times we think as our kids are the ones who are influenced, and we forget about ourselves. We forget that as we get older as well, we start being influenced by bigger things. We start wanting to have the car that our friend has. We start wanting to have the house or the zip code that this friend lives in. The career that person has. The kids that they have. All these different things, and we want to have what they have. We always compare ourselves to those who are in the society around us. A person can almost become enslaved to this societal pressure. And it's funny or it's paradoxical that we live in a society that prides itself in freedom. And we have different manifestations of that human freedom and how it's manifested in this society with these different acronyms and LGBTQ plus and all these different letters that are being introduced to us in the society. This June is Gay Pride Month or something coming out month, whatever it is. All these different things, right? And so all these things are happening because we're being influenced by the society, the pressure around us. In high school, a lot of high school schoolers and schools are getting off right now. If you go to the high school, and a lot of the guys will probably nod their heads, there's a group of students, they dress themselves in black. They're called the goths, right? They have black nail polish, they have black lipstick sometimes, black everything. And you could tell them apart. And there's their own clique or their own group of people that they're hanging around with. You go to another group, they're the jocks. They're the ones who play sports all the time. They're the ones who are surrounded by cheerleaders. And so this is another group of people that they surround themselves with. Then you have maybe the nerdy kids. The kids who get really good grades. And then they have their own circles that they live in or hang out with. And again, as parents or adults, we make fun of how can that kid do this? How can you just be following everyone else in the trends that are around us or around you? But as adults, we do the same thing, don't we? That we have circles, we call it the businessman circle, right? And so those people hang out with each other. They're always inviting, one house to another, and because they're businessmen. And then you have the state worker circle, right? Especially in Sacramento, you have a lot of people, they're state workers, and so they're always hanging out with each other. Then you have a dentist circle, you have a doctor circle, you have an engineer circle, and all these different circles that we surround ourselves with because we want to be with those who we are alike. And in the later age, we start trying to surround ourselves with people or forcing our culture upon what other people have. And so we see a lot of times that even if it doesn't make sense, it could be Pakistani or Indian or Somali, any type of culture. And we try to make sure that our kids are following that same tradition or culture. And so all of these societal pressures, we think by following them, life will become easy. That we'll be able to fit in, and so everything will be normal. And maybe that's true in the short term. But in the long term, as time passes, life only becomes harder. And I say that because we're always worried about what other people are going to say. Like right now we have summer coming. And so there's going to be wedding after wedding. And you'll notice that one wedding you attend, the next wedding of that group of friends, they try to outdo the previous one. And it keeps going in this way, and they're competing with each other, no matter how much debt the person or the family is getting themselves into. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He offers us something a little bit different. He offers a way for us to be out of all of these different norms. And this is what the deen is really about. That it's coming out of the worship of many things to the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. And when Rabi' ibn Amir radiallahu an was sent to Rustam to negotiate with him, one of the things he said, وَاللَّهُ جَاءَ بِنَا لِنُخْرِجَ مَنْ شَاءَ مِنْ عِبَادَةِ الْعِبَادِ إِلَىٰ عِبَادَةِ اللَّهِ. That we came to take people out, those who wish to be taken out, from the enslavement, from the worshipping of other ibad, other people, other worshippers, to worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. And so we see that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sent with that message, and the Sahaba followed that. And another, this is a hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then this is from the role of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the Quran. In Surah Al-A'raf, in ayah number 157, in part of the ayah, he says, يَأْمُرُهُمْ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَاهُمْ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. He's telling us the function of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is explaining what was one of the major things that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam came to do. And so by extension, this is our responsibility as Muslims as well. That we command or we enjoin and encourage other people to do good. And we forbid or we encourage people to leave what is munkar, the evil things around us. وَيُحِلُّ لَهُمُ الطَّيِّبَاتِ. And we invite others, basically. We make the halal open for them, the good things open for them, the good things enjoyable for them. وَيُحَرِّمُ عَلَيْهِمُ الْخَبَائِثِ. And we prohibit the things that are khaba'ith or khabitha, anything that causes people to be, going into the wrong direction and whatnot. And then importantly over here, he says, وَيَدَعُ عَنْهُمْ إِسْرَهُمْ وَالْأَغْلَالِ. That to take people out of their burdens and the shackles that they have, the aghlal that they have around their necks, in following all these different cultural norms, into following Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. And so the deen was made to make things easy. And if we follow the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, life will be much, much easier. And so my topic today is going to be about how to become a trendsetter, not just a trend follower. And there's a passage of the Quran that I'd like every one of you guys, and myself as well, I'm reminding myself to sit down with our families to talk about these verses. In Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah number 167 to 170, in these 4 ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala paints a very scary and a beautiful picture to tell us about these societal norms that we just follow blindly. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He begins this set of verses. He says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إذ تبرأ الذين اتبعوا من الذين اتبعوا ورعوا العذاب وتقطعت بهم الأسباب. He says, when the people who were followed, the trendsetters, the society follows, the celebrities, everyone is looking up to these people. When those people will disassociate themselves, tabarra'a, they will free themselves. They will get away from those people. وَتَقَطَّعَتْ, and they will totally do away with any type of relationship that they had with those people who followed them. And so you can imagine this day when everyone sees this adhab, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't differentiate that the people who are setting the trends or following the trends, all of them, wara'ul adhab, when they all see the punishment in front of them, the people who are setting these trends, these celebrities and so on, they will disassociate. They're like, I want nothing to do with you. Get away from me. And so, this is the first scene that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is creating for us. That those people that we followed so blindly in this dunya, that friend who told us to get that mortgage, everyone else is getting it, we have to do that in this society. That friend who told us that this business has maybe about 5% or a few percent of alcohol, it's okay, let's overlook that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is forgiving, you could give some sadaqah or zakah in Ramadan and it'll go away with that. And so all these different things or excuses we tell ourselves on that day, that person who was guiding us and we followed, they will want nothing to do with us. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, وَقَالَ الَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوا لَوْ أَنَّ لَنَا كَرَّةً فَنَتَبَرَّأَ مِنْهُمْ كَمَا تَبَرَّأُوا مِنَّا. The people who were followed. So what are they going to do now? They're going to say, oh, I wish. Oh, I wish that karrata, like, give me another chance. Just give me a few moments so that I could come back to this dunya and that I could change my ways and change those relationships and the friendships that I used to have. And so they will say, فَنَتَبَرَّأَ مِنْهُمْ كَمَا تَبَرَّأُوا مِنَّا. That we wish we could come back to the dunya so that we could leave our friends, those bad friends, just like they're leaving us on this day. But again, of course, it's too late. We can't do that. We can't go back in time because the test is already over. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says something a little bit even more scary, you could say. كَذَلِكَ يُرِيهِمُ اللَّهُ أَعْمَالَهُمْ حَسَرَاتٍ عَلَيْهِمْ. That then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will show them their deeds, their a'mal, their good deeds and bad deeds. And as they see these deeds, what's going to happen to them? حَسَرَاتٍ عَلَيْهِمْ. They're going to have regret upon regret. It's the jama' over here. They're going to have so much regret that what did we do wrong or why did we do that wrong? And on that day they will have so much regret for what they've done. وَمَا هُمْ بِخَارِجِينَ مِنَ النَّارِ. And they will never be able to exit the hellfire. Now, we're talking about trendsetters and trend followers and all these different things and kids, and then how we sometimes do this as well. But a little bit more than that is, why does this happen? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the next ayah, He explains something that maybe you could say the secret to this, of what is actually happening, this deception that's happening in front of us. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, Ya ayyuhan nas, all people, not just the believers. He's talking to everybody. And He says, كُلُوا مِمَّا فِي الْأَرْضِ حَلَالًا طَيِّبًا. That eat from what is on the earth, halal. What is halal for you, and tayyib, what is pure for you. And we see that, and we could make it maybe a distinction sometimes. That sometimes, and I'm not trying to call anyone out, but a lot of times, there's people who follow different opinions, and that's fine. But there's a doubt in that meat of the Ahlul Kitab, for example, or that chicken or that beef or whatever it is, and there's a little bit of doubt, but we just go ahead and eat it anyways because there's a difference of opinion. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala might be telling us that those people who do not eat the halal and tayyib, the ones who just follow what everyone else is doing, right? Those who drink Pepsi just like everyone else is drinking. I'm not saying it's haram, right? I'm just saying that if you're following the trends just like everyone else is doing, and you're eating what they're eating, and you're doing what they're doing, and you're not caring about the pure good things that we should be eating, then maybe we will be more susceptible to following the footsteps of shaitan. Maybe we will become more susceptible to following the trends in our society. And that the people who might be doing this, that you'll see that they lose their deen quicker or more easily than other people or their counterparts. Then He says, وَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا خُطُوَاتِ الشَّيْطَانِ إِنَّهُ لَكُمْ عَدُوٌّ مُبِينٌ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands us, do not follow the footsteps of shaitan. And so He's teaching us something else over here. That it's not that friend who was actually telling us to do something evil. It wasn't that friend who was telling us to get that mortgage and whatnot. It was actually shaitan behind the curtains. It was actually shaitan who was telling us, take this step and then this step and then this step. And so do not follow the footsteps of shaitan. And he is a clear enemy to you. Then the next verse and the last verse of the set, in ayah number 170, he says, إِنَّمَا, he's talking about shaitan now. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about shaitan. He says, إِنَّمَا يَأْمُرُكُمْ بِالسُّوءِ وَالْفَحْشَاءِ وَأَن تَقُولُوا عَلَى اللَّهِ مَا لَا تَفْعَلُونَ. That he only commands, the shaitan only commands a person to do what is evil. To do what is fahsha, the immoral actions that cause people to go towards zina and unravel all of their good deeds and their life that's in front of them. وَأَن تَقُولُوا عَلَى اللَّهِ مَا لَا تَفْعَلُونَ تَعْلَمُونَ. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then says, and they say, and these people say, or it makes you say what you don't have any knowledge about. And we see a lot of times when we get together with our friends in our parties and whatnot, where usually there's a lot of conjecture going on. There's a lot of people talking about Islam that they shouldn't have and don't have business talking about that subject. They have no idea what they're talking about, and they're just saying that and spewing this hatred, or people to be against certain commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because they didn't really quite understand them in the first place. And so shaitan, he commands us to do evil, to do immorality, and saying stuff about Islam that we have no idea about. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us and our families from being from those who follow the footsteps of shaitan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect our families and ourselves from being those who follow the trends, the evil trends of this society around us, and just following things blindly. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. استغفر بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. One of the things that we also need to realize is that, a few weeks ago I gave a khutbah about this as well, about, advice on how to raise our kids. And in particular, the crisis of low self-esteem. Because that's kind of the root of all of this. That when our kids don't have pride in their deen, they don't have knowledge of their deen, they have low self-esteem about their culture and their deen, then our Muslim youth, and girls especially, have a very, very difficult time in practicing their deen. Our brothers, especially the high school ones, we could get away with things, right? You could just slide under, go under the radar. I'm Hispanic, bro, right? You can't tell the difference. I'm from this, I'm from that, and they wouldn't know any better. You could change your name a little bit here and there as well. But our sisters, they stand out. They're wearing their headgear and everything, and we could see that they're visibly Muslim. Or everyone in the society can see that they're visibly Muslim. So it takes a lot more courage and guts for them to stand out in society and wear their hijab. So now, in general though, what are some things we could do to help raise self-confidence in our children? And raise this so that they become trendsetters rather than trend followers. I just heard about a sister recently that, mashallah, in her high school, there's a few other sisters around her that they started wearing hijab because she's wearing it. There's some Muslims or some non-Muslims who became Muslim because of some of those boys in their high school that they saw and the way that they acted and so on. Some of the staff actually became Muslim as well because of those people. And they attend the Jummah Khutbah in that high school because of those, because of becoming Muslim. And so how can we build this confidence in our children that they can become trendsetters instead of just trend followers and being sheep like everyone else? The first thing, so there was an article by the Canadian Mental Health Association. They gave 3 tips. They said that make them feel special, make the children feel special. Make them or help them discover their own unique talents and qualities, to value their own strengths, and teach them that being special doesn't equate to being arrogant, that you are not better than anyone else. And so to help them pursue their interests until they succeed. And they've said the opposite of that too, is that overpraising our kids, sometimes we like to do that, gives our kids false confidence and becoming egomaniacs, that they think that they're perfect and they try to live their lives in that way, when of course it's impossible to do that or be at that level. Then the second thing they recommended to give our children self-esteem is to help them set goals for themselves. And so now this is an opportunity that we see a lot of youth here, and a lot of high schools and middle schools in Elk Grove especially are out of school now. You have 2.5 months to try to set some goals, and the parents could help the kids. And one of the things I fell into as I was trying to get my daughter to do some things and set some goals, and she's like, "No, Baba, I don't want to do it," right? And so we need to try to figure out a way to motivate them, encourage them to set goals for themselves that they're proud of, that they can achieve something over the course of this summer, inshallah. And making sure that they're attainable goals, they're smart goals. One of the things that we do a lot of times in the Muslim community, we share, the magnificent news. That the kid who graduated college when he was just 14 years old and things like that. And things, we try to, slap our kid and, "Hey, why don't you do this as well? Why can't you be like this person?" And so sometimes we give them unattainable goals, and then we just help them fail. And the third advice that they had given was to help them try and try again. To encourage children to try things in their own way, to face challenges and completing what they started. And this is extremely difficult. As a parent of 4 teenagers, this is extremely difficult. Because we don't want them to do the same or make the same mistakes that we made when we were younger. And so we try to guide them and push them and encourage them, and they don't want to, because they're becoming more and more independent, they don't want to listen to us. But so we should encourage them to take healthy risks and choices, and don't rescue them from failure. And so if we do some of these things, inshallah, we will help them become more self-confident and have more self-esteem, so that they can go against the challenges that they will face in the society that's around us. A few other things, inshallah, more specifically, of course, for us as Muslims. For us who have daughters, making sure that, because they are the ones who stand out, and it's extremely difficult for them, making sure that you spend that time with them where you encourage them, you give them that appreciation, that those words of love and confirmation, that they look beautiful. Because if you're not doing it as a father, then they're going to have other people saying the opposite to them, or the same thing to them, from outside the home. And so making sure that we do this, inshallah, to give them that self-confidence, to listen to our daughters. A lot of times our daughters have a lot to say, and so we should just take time to listen to our children, giving them that confidence that we are actually paying attention to what they have to say, and spending that quality time with them. Now with Dhul Hijjah coming up, just a month away, right? Less than a month away now. It's a time of remembering Ibrahim alayhi salam and the sacrifices that his entire family made. And so this could be a time for us to study the seerah of Ibrahim alayhi salam. Study the biography of Ibrahim alayhi salam and Ismail alayhi salam, to see how parenting is to be done. To see how a Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raised a young man who, when commanded to be slaughtered, right, in a dream of his father, was ready to accept that. How did he do that? So we learn the seerah of Ibrahim alayhi salam and the seerah of his son Ismail alayhi salam, even Ishaq, and how they made a line of prophets after that. And for the youth that are here, just some maybe advice. That if we are strong in our beliefs, I said we, right? So I'm including myself with the youth as well. that if we are strong in our beliefs and the way we carry ourselves, no one will be able to bother you and shake your belief. No one will be able to force you to follow those trends. And if we show weakness in front of people, then they will bother us until eventually we'll be pressured into being just like them. So making sure that we're confident and we know that our deen is the way that we should be following, and that these other things, these adyan that are around us, that other people are pushing us towards, these ways of life that other people are pushing us towards, are going to cause us to go in the wrong direction and further away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala let us understand and benefit from His ayat. Again, those who are coming late, is from Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah number 167 to 170. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala let us be from the millah of Ibrahim alayhi salam. Let us be, of our kids be, and especially us as well, have confidence to go against the onslaught of cultural forces and from following the footsteps of shaitan that all the enemies of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are following around us. And just a couple of announcements inshallah, and I'll end the khutbah. That Brother Suhail Aziz's mother-in-law passed away in Karachi I think a few days ago, and so make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive her sins and bless her with Jannah for those without any type of hisab, and to give sabr and sabrun jameel to their family. For condolences, and dua, it's going to be tonight after Maghrib to Isha. There's also a youth event tonight for a barbecue between Maghrib and Isha, so you could bring your youth inshallah, and we'll have a talk and barbecue and just hang out for a little while. And lastly, an important announcement: this Jum'ah, the third Jum'ah, will no longer be offered from next week. So it will be only the 12:15 and the 1:15 shift, not the 2:15. So just keep that in mind, inshallah. I think Masjid Tawheed, if you can't get off of work on time and whatnot, Masjid Tawheed offers a Jum'ah at 2:30. So you could go for that, inshallah, as well. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما وأقم الصلاة. Allah